All right, so this is going to be lesson 1 for Unit 6. We're going to start with a bunch of vocabulary. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about what a point is, what a line is, all these different things, right? So start with points. We basically it's going to be it's a location. Don't think any width, no depth, no just a single point. There's no width or depth to it. So it could look something like this. We could have just single dots. And typically we use uppercase letters to signify a point. And it'll look something like that. Okay. A line is just a straight path extending infinitely in opposite directions. So obviously we can have a line that looks like something like this. And on that line, I'm going to have a infinite number of points. So we can talk about A, B, C. Now, when we're talking about lines, there's a couple different ways we can write this out. We can call this line AB, and we would put a line over the top of it with the arrows, right? We can call this BC. We can call this AC. Right? As long as we have the arrows above, we have 2 points on the line, we're golden. Now, the difference between a line and a line segment and an array is where we have endpoints. So a line has no endpoints at all. A line segment is going to have 2 endpoints, right? We're not continuing on forever. We have a set distance we can go. Okay, so if I go, we'll call this line segment, call this R, and we'll put a point S in the middle, and a T on the other end, right? So if I wanted to talk about this line segment, I want to talk about the whole entire thing, I would have to write RT with just a segment, just a line over the top, no arrows this time. If I were to say ST, I would be referring to just this part of the line. Okay, so you have to be very careful when we're talking about line segments, like where are my endpoints? We're just looking for the endpoints. Array is a part of a line in which one end, we have one endpoint, and it goes forever in the other direction. So basically think a mix between a line and a line segment. So if I have an array, we'll call this, we'll go endpoint, and it goes forever in the opposite direction. There's a couple different ways we can label this. We can call this, let's call this L, M, and N. So the big thing is if I want to talk about this right here, I would have to start with L, and I am going through N, or M, sorry. Another way to label this is I could say I'm starting at L and I'm going through N. And make sure that your endpoint, so my endpoint here is L, that's going to be where our endpoint is, okay? All right, so some more vocab. We have parallel lines and perpendicular lines. So parallel lines are just lines that are always the same distance apart. And they never intersect. So it's going to look something like this. So we have a line. We have 2 lines here. And say I want to call this, we'll call this one AB. And this is going to be XY. And I wanted to say that these are parallel. We could use arrows to denote that, right? I can say, hey, I'm forcing these 2 lines to be parallel. And you would write, my line AB is parallel to XY. And that's how you'd write that down as a statement, okay? Now, if we're talking about perpendicular lines, we're looking for lines that form a 90-degree angle. So say we have, let's go something like this. The symbol we're looking for is this right here. Like this is going to be the symbol that we're looking for. So if we want to say A, B, C, all of these are going to be, well, we'll talk about this later in the unit, but all of these are going to end up being 90 degrees. If one of these lines in a picture like this is 90, then all of them are 90. So we could say that angle, A, B, C, and we'll talk about labeling angles later, is 90 degrees. All right, so a plane is, think you're the piece of paper you're writing on. A plane is just the just the surface, right? We can draw lines on a plane. So we have a open surface like this. And typically when we're labeling planes, we'd label it with 3 points. That's one way to do it. So we can say plane ABC, or we can say, if we have like a lowercase cursive letter, we can call this plane L. It's another common way you'll see planes labeled. All right, so askew. Now this is kind of tricky doing this virtually, but I want you to picture like we have two different planes that are never going that are two different lines that are never going to touch, but they're not parallel. Okay, so say I have a line on the paper. I can draw a line like this. That was a terrible line. Let's try it again. I have a line like so, and then I'm going to do a dot right here. Okay. Now, this is not a dot. This is actually a line that's going vertically, right? If we had a 3D image, you would see this line shooting straight up into the air, right? These would be skew lines, okay? That's another definition. The way I typically teach this is in class, I will point to where the walls and floor and ceiling meet. So you pick one where it's like going north and south, and then pick a box in a different place that is going east-west. They're never going to touch, but they're also not on the same plane. So that's what it means to be skew. And you'll see that in an example. Okay, so let's go to example 1. We're going to start by just graphing points. Keep it simple, right? So we have the point 8, 8. So I'm going to go, that means we go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to go up to 8. And we'll go ahead and label this point 8, 8. And that's in quadrant 1. We have the point -5, -8. So we're going to go to the left -8, 5, and go down -8. So it'd be something like this. And then we have the last one, 5, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there's your 3 points. Just make sure you're labeling them, okay? All right. Example 2, you want to label these. We have a line, array, and a segment. We want to label them in 2 different ways. I'm going to do more than 2 different ways, but you only have to pick 2, okay? The one you'll have the most options is whenever you have a line. So if we have this right here, I could say I have SV and VS. So let's start with that. We have the line SV and VS because we can flip it. Doesn't matter the order. I also have, I can say line SB, right? Because it's going to continue on beyond B and S. So another way to say this is I could say line SB and BS. And then the last one, we have BV, right? We just need 2 points. So we can say BV and VB. And those are all the ways that you can label this line. And you just need to pick 2. Okay. Now with arrays, we have to be a little more selective in the points we pick. We have to reduce it down, right? So for all my arrays, I need to include this point here. So one of the arrays we can do is we can say BF. And again, the B is my endpoint, so I'm going to do a line going towards F, right? Say my endpoint starts at B and goes towards F. And then again, my last one, let's do this in blue. So we're starting at B and we're going all the way through P. So we can say B, P, like so, okay? Again, the endpoint has to be the one under the bottom. And I would typically start with the endpoint just to make things a little simple for you, okay? All right, so there's your 2 ways for array. And the last one is a line segment. Now, don't get tricked. Okay, let's go ahead and label it. Obviously, it's just this would just be YM and MY. Now, what I don't want you to do not do this. If you have a point A and it's asking for label this line segment, it's typically going to ask for the whole entire line segment. So if you write AM, you're going to get marked wrong. So make sure you include the whole entire line segment. Include the whole line segment. Now this thought also works for arrays too, right? So we don't want to cut it off. I do not want to do FP because if we did that, we'd just be starting here and I'm completely ignoring this whole entire part. Okay, so make sure you're using the endpoints. Look for the endpoints. All right, so now we have a box. This is going to be a little easier so that we can talk about skew a little bit. We're naming things in this box. This is, if you need to find a book to help you visualize this, this is the same thing, okay? So the diagram is a right rectangular prism. That's just basically saying these are going to be 90, all the angles are 90 degrees. all the angles shown are measured at 90, complete the following. Name 2 perpendicular segments, right? So perpendicular segments is you need to tell me 2 segments that form a 90-degree angle. So I can say NK, you could say LI, LH and HI, you could say JI and MI, you can say NJ and GJ, it doesn't really matter, just pick 2. So I'm going to go with KN, let's do a pen, is perpendicular to KL. Right, that's one example, right? Again, doesn't matter, like you just got to pick 2 that are connected to each other, touching each other and not going in the same direction. So you want to do 2 parallel segments. Again, as long as there are two line segments that are going in the same direction, I can pick any 2 of any of these 4. I can also pick 2 of any of these 4 because these are all going to be parallel. I can pick 2 of any of, let's do these. I can pick 2 of any of these 4. Just got to pick 2. So we're going to go with KG. We're doing this one. We're going to do LH. Right, and we use this symbol to tell us that they're parallel. Okay, and let's do, I'm going to do star this. Let's highlight this to make it a little easier to see so you can come back. So we have KN and KL. So we have KN and KL. Then we have KG and LH. Let's go and erase that. Let's try that again. Oh, dang it. Too much. Highlighter. KG and LH. Okay, so now I'm going to do 2 skew segments. This is the one I was trying to explain. It'd be a little easier in the classroom. Example of skew would be this line segment and this line segment. Or I could have done this line segment and this line segment. So they're not touching, right? So see how this is going this way, this is going vertically. They're never ever going to touch, but they're also not on the same plane. So these are called skew. Okay, so if I want to talk about skew, let's do this one, and we'll go MI just to keep things a little simple. So we have GJ is skew to MI. Okay, let's highlight that in blue, KG and MI. All right, so now we're talking about planes, right? So think pieces of paper, right? We're talking like we want 2 planes that are going to be parallel to each other. So we can go plane. I'm just going to do the front one and the back one. So we can say plane KLH. This whole entire plane is going to be parallel to plane NMI. So it's going to do that. So we have KLH. You only need 2 points. Is parallel to plane NMI. Right, so again, to help you visualize it, plane KLH, this plane here, this piece of paper here, this plane is going to be parallel to this plane back here. So we're talking about perpendicular planes. We just need to find 2 planes that touch, basically, because again, form 90-degree angles. So I can go, you can do the same one, KLH. Let's write that. Plane KLH is perpendicular to plane. So we started with this one now. We want this one. Now I want to do this one because it's going to be forming a 90-degree angle right here. I'm going to do this plane here. So let me look at the letters. LMI. We'll do L, M, and I. Okay. All right. And that is going to be the end of lesson 1. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to try and get, I'm a little behind on grading, but I'll get caught up on that. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.